Hi, this is Matthew. Going to talk about the next Beach Boys album from 1971 called Surf's Up. Came out next. Brian's not as involved. Carl Wilson is now the default leader now. They have a new manager at this point who came in to try to help get them more popular again, see what was happening, get them where people were noticing their stuff, because it's pretty good stuff, but people weren't noticing it. The British were, and they understood it. we here in the U.S. seemed to not really be following them, and they weren't, the counterculture people didn't like them and all this other stuff. So I was trying to fix that. And this album is way more socially conscious, more environmentally conscious than others that they've had. They have, obviously, this is a Surf's Up with the title. That comes from a track back from the Smile Sessions, which gets used here. There's a lot of leftover things. Of course, they all get into a box called Feel Flow, I believe it's called. And they even did Seasons of the Sun that a Canadian guy made famous, but they had a version, they didn't use it. He did. They worked with it. Terry Jack, I think his name is. And he made a huge hit with it and a couple years later down the road. Which is a good song. The box set, though, has their version. I need to go check that out. I have not listened to it. I may have to go find that track and play it. Obviously, maybe someone will go back over that box set when it comes into the timeline, as it were. We'll see if the Wikipedia archive has any of those bonus tracks and things. I know that they both have different tracks from those, plus the two albums together. We'll go look, and I think there are some various other musicians on this one. Pretty cool album, though. Very different than you would expect from them. A couple songs I had heard, well, one I'd heard before, one I knew of by title, so yeah. So we have on side one, we have Don't Go Near the Water, very much an environmentalist thing. Mike Levin, Al Jardine wrote that one with Mike Levin, Al Jardine, and Brian Wilson. He was involved a little bit, but not very much, just occasionally. There was some kind of band disagreements about where they wanted to go. They've now ditched. They had some striped suits they used to wear on tour. Those are gone. They are touring again. Brian does come back for a few dates, I think, during this part of their touring. But yeah, some band disagreements about things on this album. And then we go to Long Promised Road by Carl Wilson and Jack Riley. Jack Riley is the new manager. That's who I couldn't think of his name. There he is, Jack Riley. Carl Wilson on lead vocals here. And then Take a Load Off Your Feet next. Jardine and Brian Wilson and Gary Winfrey. There's some other kind of partners they were writing with. Brian Wilson and Al Jardine were on here. And then we have Disney Girls 1957. That one I've heard of and knew about. It's a good song. Bruce Johnson wrote it, and Bruce Johnson sings it. I thought he did. Yeah, so that's Bruce Johnson. If you want to hear him sing a song, that's the one on here. And then Student Demonstration Time, very much a political, thing. Kind of like demonstrating about things you don't like or agree with. Gene Lieber and Mike Stoller and Mike Love, some other guys that they were working with some songs. And Mike Love on vocals. Yeah, it's very much like a protest demonstration, kind of, we don't like what's going on. We're going to demonstrate, And this album is weird because it's only 10 tracks. So now we go to side 2 with Feel Flows. I like Feel Flows. That's a neat one. I'd heard that one before. There's some nice Moog synthesizer stuff going on this album too. I think they're Moogs, we'll find out, but synthesizer stuff at least. He's got some backward vocal reverb thing going on, and it's a neat track. Carl Wilson and that Riley guy helped write it, and Carl Wilson on vocals. Well, he basically kind of made himself without any other input from anybody. I like the song though. It's kind of a nice chilled out thing. I like it. Looking at Tomorrow, a welfare song. Again, more environmental type stuff. Jardine, that Winfrey guy, wrote it with Al Jardine on vocals. So again, if you want to hear Al Jardine take some vocals, this is another spot to do that if you like to hear all the people sing their songs. Dennis Wilson had stuff, but he decided to take them out. He was kind of irritated with, I guess, who was getting to do what. I don't know, but he didn't have them in the running, so unfortunately. So he might have had a couple more tracks if he had, but it's okay. A Day in the Life of a Tree, again, a very much environmental thing. Talking about a tree's life cycle. There's organs and things by Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson on that I wrote. This one with Jack Riley and Van Dyke Parks and Jardine on vocals. So, and Van Dyke Parks again was another one of their songwriter people. They would do some collaborations with occasionally. So yeah, a little different vocal lineup there. Brian, I know, was on organ and some synthesizer stuff. Brian Wilson does some of that. So again, some involvement, but not very much here. Very sporadic, very little. Till I Die. Brian Wilson wrote that one with Carl, Brian, and Mike Love on vocals. So yeah, good portion of the band there. And then we jump to Surf's Up. Brian Wilson and Van Dyke Parks. Colin Prowell and Brian Wilson and Al Jardine on that one. Yeah. Our people, no bonus tracks here listed. Our people we have, of course, Al Jardine on lead and backing vocals, and electric guitars and acoustic guitars, and banjos and a piano and a bass guitar. Yeah, there is a banjo. I forget what track that was, but it's I think it's the first one. There's definitely a banjo going on. Bruce Johnson lead and backing vocals and pianos and Hammond organ and Moog synthesizer and mandolins. I thought that was a Moog. I was right. Yep, and some mandolins. So interesting instrumentation on this one as we've had lately, which is great. I always makes it interesting listening when you're like, oh, okay. I never thought about that being on a song like that, but yeah, they work. They fit. And Mike Love lead and backing vocals and tambourine, and that is it. Brian Wilson lead, backing, and Baldwin organ and a Hammond organ and a harmonium and a Moog synthesizer and a Roxashort or something. A piano and harmonica. I don't know what that is. I how to pronounce that. Screen readers are not helping me with that, so I'm not sure what that is. It sounds neat. Roxachord or something? What the heck is that? Bass guitar and snare drum and percussion and Rolls-Royce Phantom V3. Where are the car noises? Must be in Disney Girls. I have to go back and check that out again. I don't remember the car. It sounds like that would be a car. Carl Wilson in lead and backing and electric guitars. Acoustic guitars, the pianos with taped strings and a Wurlitzer electric piano. And they tape the strings down. That's kind of cool. That would be an interesting sound. I didn't notice that either. What do I know? Baldwin organ and a Hammond organ, and again, Moog synthesizer and bass and drums and percussion. Dennis Wilson backing vocals, drums, and that is it. Our tour band guys again who played on here are, of course, Ed Carter electric guitar and acoustic guitars, Daryl Dragon Moog synthesizer and pipe organs, and a piano and an electric guitar and bass. Cool. I like pipe organs. Pipe organs are great. And guitar and vibraphone. So vibes. Dennis Dragon on drums again. Mike Welsky drums, percussion. So several different drummer and percussionists on this thing. Kind of cool. Our guest guys again, probably kind of the Wrecking Crew-ish type of people, and others. Polly Chaplin bass guitar. Okay, he's back. Bill Simon DeSimone, maybe backing vocals. Not sure. Kathy Dragon on flutes. One of the Dragon's wives, I'd say. Yeah, there's some really nice flutes on here. Even some nice jazz ones. I'm not sure who is playing that, but I like the jazz flutes, especially on this thing. I forget what track that was now, but it's a really nice jazz flute solo. I really, really enjoyed. Van Dyke Parks on vocals. Of course, that Day of the Life of a Tree track that I was talking about earlier. Jack Riley lead vocals on him, yeah. And he did some breathing effects on Field Flows, too. Diane Ravel backing vocals. Marilyn Wilson backing vocals. Brian's, I assume, still wife then. Gary Winfrey backing vocals. That's the other writer. Additional session guys. This may be more Wrecking Crew types again. We'll see. Arthur Breedlab French horn. Jimmy Bond on double bass. Frank Kapp on car keys and hi-hat. That's fun. Gotta love car keys. Al Casey electric guitar. Roy Caton on trumpet. Al DeLorean on pianos. David Duke French horns and Wagner tuba. That's very specific. Glenn Ferris on trombone. Go trombones. Sam Fried violin. Dave Frasina violin. George Hyde French horn. Animal Kaminsky violin. Yeah, a lot of the same guys from earlier. Nathan Kaproff violin. George Cast violin. Carol Kay on bass guitar. She's back. Charles Lloyd on tenor sax and tenor saxophone and flute. Yeah, I wonder who did that flute solo. I really enjoyed that flute solo. I wish I knew who that was. Sal Marquez, trumpet. Roger Newman on tenor saxophone. Nick Pellico on the glockenspiel. Joe Peskin, tenor saxophone. Mike Price on trumpet. Cloud Cherry French horn. Woody Theus, bass drum and jingle sticks. What are jingle sticks? I never got to see those. Interesting. What are jingle sticks? Are they like sleigh bells? Some kind of bells? I don't recall. I've never seen jingle sticks. Additional people. Producer credit is the Beach Boys themselves still. This is also that second album for that Brother Records, through Reprise / Warner Brothers, but through their Brother Records label that they've had a few albums on, but it actually gets mentioned as the primary label when you stream it. But it does show Capitol, so Capitol, I guess, got all of that catalog back at some point in some kind of thing. I'm not quite sure where or how or what it was. And we have Steve Desper, Chief Engineer, and Move Synthesizer, and some bird effects. Thrasher original art was the original art, and that is it. But yeah, very cool album anyway. Very interesting. Lots of interesting things going on in it, which is great. Very enjoyable stuff. But yeah, definitely a period that most people probably haven't heard much of, or maybe they forgot about. That kind of getting a little bit more of a popular boost. They got to, I think, 29 here. UK, for some reason, it didn't chart. I don't know why that was for sure. What was different in the UK about it? But it was a better charting here. 29 is not spectacular, but it was better than like 140 something or whatever. So Wild Honey, I think, got that same position. So a lot better showing domestically, at least. Not as much in the UK, which is weird because they've been so popular there. But yeah, interesting how that kind of ebbs and flows. I think they'll start to become more popular again a little bit down the road. I think we'll get a big popularity in them again. But yeah, not a bad showing. Different album than people would think of. But yeah, it did fairly well here. Got some singles. Yeah, one single, I forget which one it was, that got released, and they released it again, and it did better. So, second time's a charm, I guess, for certain tracks. Apparently, like, oh, we'll put it out again, like a few months later. We'll put it out again with a B-side, and we'll see what happens. And it did seem to help. Nothing that gets any airplay today, for sadly. Like, so much of this stuff, like, I didn't even know about it till I was in high school. Like, what are you talking? Like, they had stuff in the 70s? What? And then there's some 80s stuff and some stuff in the 60s, of course, but like, there was like this middle period I had no idea about. Yeah. But now I'm getting to hear all the albums that I knew nothing about, which is great. I think that'll do it for now. We'll go, yeah, the 72's up. Carl and the Toughs, like, I think it's So Proud or something. They got a really strange title. But I'm hoping there's a track on there that somebody introduced me to that I had never heard. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully it will be on the next album. I haven't looked ahead. I think I will in a second, though. Once I get done with this, I'll kind of go look, but listen to it later. I think that will do it for now, and I will see you guys in another video.